Welcome to 3D Printing 101. Today is the most important lesson in the entire course. We're going to put together everything that we've learned up to this point, and we're going to make our very first design. You do not want to miss it, so don't skip ahead, and let's get started. So if we open up our computer and we go to a new tab, we're going to type in Tinker CAD. And the first result here, Tinker CAD, create 3D digital designs with online CAD. So Autodesk is the owner of Tinkercad. They also make Fusion 360 and Inventor. And these are softwares that professionals use, like professional engineers use to make some serious projects. So these people know what they're doing. But they designed this software so that anyone could understand it, and it was super easy to use. So let's go through how to use it. We go to create over here. We can go to 3D design. There are some other things we can do, but we go to 3D design. Okay, and here we are. It gave us the name Stunning Trig Miguelo. Nice. Change the name here if you want. I like it. So here we have the work plane. This is what we put our objects on, or the basic shapes, and we put them on here, and then we can manipulate them from there. We can move them around, we can spin them, we can make them bigger, we can shrink them, but this is where all of the action happens. So you can spin the work plane using this cube in the top left corner. And if you click on front, it'll bring you to the perfect front view, so you don't have to, try and align it like this. Same goes if you click on right view, or if, let's say, I just want to go directly to the left view. I don't have to like spin out and go here. If I'm here, I can just click this arrow and it'll flip me right over. So I can go wherever I want to go from here. You can also click on edges and corners. Now, say we're spinning around, we get way zoomed out. We click this home, and that's going to bring us to what's called home view. And that's just the basic view. This is where we started. So like, no matter how, let's say you get lost in your project and you don't know where you are, no matter how much you orient this, it's just like, whoa, where am I? Click home, it'll bring you right back here. You can also click this. That just fits all the things in view. Plus makes it bigger. Minus makes it smaller. And this makes flat view. But right now we're gonna use this, which is called perspective view, I guess. Okay, so another way that you can use it, which is faster than over here, in my opinion, is you can use the mouse. So similar to what we talked about in Ultimaker Kira, if you press on the scroll wheel, you hold on the scroll wheel, you can pan like this. If you scroll down, you scroll out. And if you scroll in, you zoom in. And then if you click with the left clicker, you'll just make a box, which will be useful in a minute. But if you click and hold with the right wheel and you spin around, then you'll be able to orient the work plane. So I'm a little lost here. Gonna go back to home. All right. Now over here we have the shape panel. We're just going to be dealing with this part today, the basic shapes. From this panel, you can drag in shapes. Let's bring this one in and just drop it down. And now you have a shape on the work plane. You'll see these arrows, or not these arrows, these little boxes rather, little dots. So if I click on one and hold it, I can make it bigger, I can change the dimensions. if let's just undo this. If I hold shift and then do the same thing I just did, then it grows in proportion. All of the dimensions stay with the same sort of ratio to each other. So if you want a perfect square or perfect cube, or let's say you already get something, you're like, oh, this is the perfect proportions, but I need it a little bit bigger. Just go like this, hold shift, and you got it. So I'll go back to our little cube. You can also, you click on this, you can make it taller. And then this arrow is for moving it up and down. So if you hold on this little cone thing, you can move it up and down. You can even move it below the work plane, but that's not going to be helpful most of the time. So we'll bring it back. Let's say move it up there. Yeah. You'll also notice if you click somewhere on the shape that is not on any of the dots or any of the arrows, and you just move it around, that's just how you move it. You can't move it up and down as easily. See? So that is why this is here, just so you don't, get lost. You'll also see these little arcs, I guess you'd say, arc arrow things. And from here, if you click and drag, you can spin this around. And it has the degrees up here. Let's say I know what I want. I want 45 degrees. Type it in, and it brings me right to it. You can also do that here. And it's not being precise enough, so I'll just drag to the outside. Do another 45 degrees. Boom. Okay, this is not super useful to us right now, so I'm just going to hit the delete button. So now I want to go over a basic design principle or theory, and I guess it's more of a strategy, and it just helps us, break down complex shapes and figure out how to actually design them. This is something that's used in art too, when you're drawing. If you're drawing a really complex thing, or even if it's not complex, it might just seem complex in the moment because, at least for me, I'm not super good at drawing. So if you're drawing someone's face, you can break it down into basic shapes. You can break it down into a triangle for the nose, lines maybe for the eyes, maybe the top of their head is a circle, and then you draw a line and some bigger ovals, some little trapezoids for the ears, and understanding that you're going to have to go back in and add some little details later on. But this is going to help you get started. It's going to help you get stuff down, and it's going to help you lay out the proportions and know what you're actually dealing with. So you're not just focusing on details in one area and then realize, dang it, I messed up all this other stuff. And now all these details that I worked so hard on are not going to matter. So that same principle applies to design. Let's say that we want to design a wrench. We look up a picture of wrench. Loading. Well, we'll see. There we go, images. Okay, so a wrench, good picture. Here's a good picture. So a wrench has a long shaft in the middle. It has this bit on the end, and then it has this over here. So how can we break this down? Well, right to me, I see rectangle. There's a big rectangle in the middle. And so if we divide it right here, then the rectangle's gone. And now we just have to deal with this part and this part, but they're separate. So it's not this weird shape that we haven't seen before. This is pretty much a circle. The designers for the wrench made some changes, but if we use a circle, we get the right function. And, if we want to go back in and make some more complex curves later, we can totally do that. And then how do we do this? So, and then the wrench here, it just has a little part that's cut out. So we can break this down into big rectangle, circle, and then square cut out of it. When you're breaking stuff down into shapes, don't forget that you can cut things out. It's not that you can just add them. Like, it's not like I was like, oh, you have to add a crescent moon and like crescent moon shape for this part because we can't go over here because there's nothing there. No, you can subtract material or subtract stuff in the design. So, you got rectangle, circle, square, box, and then over here we can break this down into circle, and then most likely these look like triangles. Looks like someone took a bunch of triangles and copied and pasted and then spun them a little bit, and then copied and pasted and spun a little bit, and then they just kept doing that 2 or 3 or 4 times, and that's how you have that. So that is the most basic design strategy out there. So let's try to design a wrench. So we have a box. I'm not going to worry about dimensions right now because we're not actually designing this to tighten anything specific. If we were, then I would take measurements and I would be much more careful with this. That looks pretty good. And then, got this. So I guess three-dimensional version of that circle is a cylinder. Bring that there. And make that the same height as this. Click on the front view just so I can see it better. Oops. There we go. Now it's the same height. And we can just make them attach. Okay. And the other end. So this one is just a little smaller. I'm going to take here, I'm going to click this, going to copy, Command C or Control C, and then Command V or Control V, depending on what type of computer you're on. But I'm going to make this one a little bit smaller. So I'm going to hold Shift. I'm just going to drag it in a little bit. I'm going to make that one 17. And we'll go a little bit smaller. Let's go 15. There we go. Say I want to make this a little smaller too. And now we have this, but now we could go through and, manually straighten these, but that would take a bit of time. So instead what we can do is make a box and select all of these. Alternatively, you could click this one and then hold Shift and then click on this one, and it'll just select all of the ones that you click after that. Keep them selected. I want to click this button up here, which is Align. So now it has them all here, and we can decide how we want them aligned. So I want them aligned in the middle. So I'm going to click this button. As you can see, they're all lined up in the middle. It was like there's a line there, and it's symmetrical now. Click here. So now we have this thing, and that makes up most of the wrench. We're almost there. But something before we move forward is like none of these parts are attached, right? So how do we fix that? If we select them all again, either with the box or the Shift click, and then click this up here. This is the group tool. Click on that, and it all becomes one shape. Oop, and yep. So I made a mistake. I didn't raise this up, so the shaft or the handle is actually a bit bigger than the cylinder. So what we can do is we can select them, we can ungroup, can make a little change to this, drag that up, boom, that's right, regroup it. There we go. So now we have this part of the wrench, but we don't have this. So like we talked about, we can delete a part of the object as a shape. Now that'll still count as our sort of simplifying idea. So if we want another box, take this. Now I'm going to spin over here, click this, and now I'm not worried about these dimensions so much. It's really just getting the width of the box right from over here to over here. So pan, zoom in a little bit. Let's make it 10. There we go. 10 looks pretty good. So I'm going to click this. And so when you click on an object, this box you'll see appears. One of those things, the top thing, is you can click either solid or hole. Just by default, it's selected as solid. We click hole, it turns into this weird sort of liney thing. But what's cool about this is if we drag this over here, it actually cuts away part of the wrench. Now it hasn't done that yet because we haven't grouped it yet. First I want to align it. Let's see. Oh, that's pretty good. Actually, I want it to move like 0.5 this way. So I'm going to click this, 0.5. And just by the way, in the bottom right here, you can see the snap grid is set to 1 millimeter. So that's the units. Okay, so that's like that. And let's make sure this is aligned. So we're going to click both of these again. Align, center. Oh, and it's gray. So that means it's already done. Now we can select them both and group. And that box that we had just totally disappears because it's a hole. It's not an actual solid thing. It just deletes that part of the wrench. And now it actually is looking like a wrench. So we want to make that weird star thing. Let's drag a triangle shape out because just looking through here, that's kind of the most likely thing. Let's see. It's got 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So I think our triangle is going to be our best bet. But the triangle is this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this way so it's easier to see. Then we're going to click on the arrow and spin it. So we get to 90 degrees. And now the triangle, we can look at it up and down like this. We're just going to go here. Oops. Want to make this an equilateral triangle. Okay. Oh. Oh man. I have to do a little math. I think if we go in one more, that's pretty close. Again, if we were doing an actual project, actually, what we're gonna do? Drag in one of these hexagons. Actually, now that I'm looking at it closer, I think it is. Looks like what they've done. So you've taken one of these, they've rotated it just a tiny bit. To make this pointing in that direction. So 15 degrees. Makes sense. And now we can use the align tool again. Select both of these and align. We're going to click here and we're going to click here because that's where we want them both to be aligned. So now they're aligned perfectly in the centers of each other. You can select all these, make it a hole, make it a little smaller. Drag it in here. Oh, gotta group these together. And then align again. That should be perfectly in the center. Goes all the way to the bottom. Now if we click this, group, boom. And now we have our finished wrench. So we just took a complex object like this and turned it into something like this. So I think, your imagination is probably going and you can think of how you can apply this to other stuff. So I'm going to go back to Tinkercad. It's the main menu, and I'm going to create a new 3D design. So now let's make something we can actually print out. Start by dragging a shape on here, just a basic cube, and got a ruler. Let's see. Let's make these. We're going to make this box 80 millimeters. So you can see on the bottom. So right now it's 73. Let's make this 80. And we can make this. I'm going to make mine. 25. Yeah, that looks good. 25. So now we've got this giant box. Let's make this shorter now. Make it 4 millimeters. Yeah, 4 millimeters. That looks pretty good. So next thing we want to do is I want to take this round roof. That's what's called, I guess. Drag this on here. And we're going to flip this over again so that the sort of half moon you can see from the top. And then spin it around like this. So it lines up, and we can line it up like this. And we're going to join these two together. Just going to line this up on one of the sides. There we go. And drag this one over. And now it matches for the width of it. Oh, and this thing is going. So now we're just going to shrink this down to the same height. That's looking pretty good so far. I'm going to take another one of these because what I want to do is I want to hollow this out. So, because we're making a keychain, I want to make it so we can put one of the key rings onto that loop. So take this. Oop, that is not 90 degrees. There we go. That's straight up and down. And now we're going to, oh, whoa. Spin it so that it lines up. And yeah, it's already a little bit smaller, but I think it's actually going to be a little too weak if we leave it like this. The final print is going to be a little too weak. So I'm going to leave this here. Make this a hole. There we go. Now I'm going to click those two. We're going to align. This time, though, we're going to align this corner piece. And that's just going to keep it aligned to the side of it rather than to the middle of it. But we're only going to do that right here. On this side, we're going to align the middle like, oh, and it's gray. So we've already done that. Looks good. Looks good. I'm still going to make it a little bit smaller, actually. Get 9, 18, 17. I don't know if that's centered anymore. Click these two. One more aligning job. Looks good. Okay, now we're going to group all these together. Group. And boom. Now we've got this little slot cut out where we can put our key ring. Another cool thing here in basic shapes is you can actually put in text. So we're going to bring some text in. Ooh. And no, I'm going to make one. Let's just do, put in my name. Caleb. Font. Only a couple different fonts here, but that's okay. Ooh, but you can adjust these things like crazy. So I'm actually going to bring the segments back down to 0. So now what I want to do, I want to bring this over here. Look at it from the top. It's going to be easier. And I just want to shrink this down so it fits, it just fits into here. Actually, ooh, I like serif. I'm going to go with serif. I'm actually going to, yeah. This is good. Okay, so now we can do that same alignment trick we've been doing. I'm going to align this side manually, but this is not centered, obviously. So if we select these two, and there we go. So now it's looking pretty good, but I don't want it to be stuck out like this. What I want is I want my name to be, impressed into the rectangle. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, let's take a look. So it looks like, yep, it looks like it's right on top of this. So what I want to do is I want to move it down just slightly. I'm going to move it down 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter. That's it. But now, if we make this whole, it's actually going to impress that shape, the text that we just made, into the rectangle. So if we group this, boom, and it's impressed, stuck down in there. Awesome. All right. This is looking pretty cool. Let's see, what else can we do? I want to add some little zigzag pattern on the side. So I'm going to orient this. Shrink this down a little bit. Let's see, make that a hole. Command C, Command V. I'm just going to keep copying and pasting. That looks good. So now I have this whole line, this army of triangles. But we group all of them together, then it actually makes this cool zigzag pattern. So I'm going to put this on the side. Drag it out a little bit. That's cool. I like that. I want to make it so it cuts off right at the end. Yep. So it kind of rounds the corner a little bit. I think this looks cool. Awesome. And yeah, I want to do that on both sides. So what we can do is actually click this, mirror, mirror in that direction. Boom. Oops. Gotta make a copy of it. Command C, Command V. Now if we go like this, mirror that. Now it's just a perfect mirror, already lined up and everything. We don't have to recreate it at all. All right, that's good. Another thing is if you hold shift while you're moving an object, it'll only move in that direction. Like you won't be able to move it diagonally at all. It'll just move in one direction. So that's kind of helpful. All right, and that looks pretty good. Can't really complain. Group it all together. And there we go. All right. I like the way that this one looks, but I would encourage you guys to play around a little bit, click on different shapes, different settings, see what they do, and just, be creative with it. So now, once you have, pause this, go fix it, be creative, change what you want to change. I did this in real time for you, so you could work alongside me. You weren't trying to rush to copy things down or just go back and forth. I tried to do this in real time, go pretty slowly and explain things so that you could go right along with me. I like the way mine looks. So in the top corner, you'll see it says export, download to 3D print. Click this, and there are different options. But like we said before, we want to save this as an STL. It's premiering downloading model. And in the downloads, boom, Swanky Stantia. Guess that's what it's called. SwankyStantia.stl. Now, if we go back into Ultimaker Kira, delete this benchy. File, open downloads. Swanky Stantia right there. Boom. Swanky Stantia is in the house. And she's on the build plate. So, if we slice this, an hour and 2 minutes, not bad at all. It's a pretty nice looking keychain. So now we can just export this and print it out. I'm going to post my result. I'm not going to show you in the video because I want you guys to show me what you made. Post in the community your final design. Let others know, let others learn from what you did. And I'm super excited to see what you guys made. So, if you need to rewatch that's okay. And, go in, just be creative. There are no rules in here. Everyone today is so caught up in there's so many rules. Maybe that's school, maybe that's just, society. There are no rules when it comes to designing things and 3D printing things. Do whatever floats your goat, man. I'll see you guys around.